The number one way to reduce turnover is to stop promoting people into failure. Often, strong individual contributors are promoted because they're great at the work. So great, we put them right to work to lead others in doing the work. We do more believing they can than training them how. That's why my Emerging Leaders program builds confident, capable leaders across 4 essential competencies: knowing themselves, connecting with others, leading the work, and developing their people. Leadership development does not happen in a classroom. And that is why this program ensures the participant owns their own growth. Their supervisor reinforces the learning every day in a guided process, and the skip level leader ensures alignment and accountability with intention and structure. The result are leaders who are less reactive, more strategic, and better equipped to build capability in others. Are you ready to build your leadership bench? Let's talk. Go to CoachCora.com for more information and to schedule a complimentary discovery call. Let's reduce that turnover.
Welcome to the People Playbook, where real people bring real workplace questions, and Coach Cora helps coach through the challenges leaders face every day. From hiring and communication to accountability, trust, team dynamics, and difficult conversations. This is where leadership gets practical, honest, and human. Real people, real questions, real coaching. Now, here's Coach Cora with the People Playbook.
Welcome to the People Playbook, where we talk about real people challenges that leaders face and real techniques to address them. This is Coach Cora, your host, in exploring people dynamics to gain a deeper understanding of the impact behavior and relationships have on business results. We invite you, the listener, to bring your workplace and leadership questions to the show. We will coach you through them together. Whether you're having struggles when communicating expectations, you want to be more effective with accountability, more productive in conflict, articulate an upcoming change, or ask for a career growth. Any of the daily realities of leading others, leading self, and leading up. This is your opportunity to be coached and gain greater clarity and a practical next step, all while helping others. Because if you have the question, so does someone else. So bring your questions to CoachCora.com and click on I have a question. Or you can always DM me through LinkedIn. When not coaching a listener through a question, I introduce a tool, model, strategy, or assessment to facilitate knowledge so that we can better understand ourselves and better lead the people around us. Today, we're talking about listening. Listening sounds so simple. Someone speaks, we hear them, we respond. How wrong could that go? Except it's not really what happens. We all know that. In my coaching practice, I hear people tell me, I'm not a good listener, or they say I don't listen very well. Today, we're going to challenge that. People are actually very skilled at receiving information, and we receive it from our environment, and we rely on that information. Therefore, today, I propose it is less about how good or bad we are as listeners and more about the differences in what we listen for. So today's goal will be to reduce those annoying accusations that pop up. You weren't listening. You missed the point. You are being too emotional. Oh my gosh, you are overanalyzing this. Why do you always have to jump to conclusions? Because this is what I know for sure. Two people can sit in the same meeting, hear the same words, observe the same behavior, and walk away with completely different information. One person, they'll remember the facts. Another remembers how people felt. Another one is already analyzing whether it will work. And another is thinking about how that message that they received connects to a bigger picture. These differences are not defined by good or bad. They're defined by strengths, preferences, and opportunities. Because what we listen for is actually something we have a lot of control over. So what if the issue is not that someone failed to listen? What if they were listening, but they were just listening for something different than what you sent? Today, I'm going to introduce 5 listening styles. We will look at what each style naturally pays attention to, what it tends to do with the information it receives, and where that style adds value. and how it can unintentionally create misunderstanding. Because effective listening is not simply about hearing more. It's about recognizing that we naturally listen for certain things and learning that how we listen to the situation is different from what the person needs us to hear. Today's show, we're going to go through why listening breaks down, the 2 key parts of listening styles, the 5 different styles, your personal combination, why this matters as leaders, and what can we do with this information. So, what is this person listening for, and what are they doing with what they hear? That's going to be the big question we're going to answer today. Most of us carry an unspoken assumption into a conversation. If you did not hear what I thought was important, then you were not listening. But listening is very selective. We naturally notice certain parts of a message more quickly than others, because one listener may really be paying attention to facts, to details, and they're the ones listening for data, while another one is trying to add meaning, and they're trying to connect what you're saying to other things that they've heard. They're very conceptual, and there are those that are very logic-driven, and they're trying to understand the logic behind what you said and trying to either give or take away credibility. So when we have some that are listening for the emotion behind the words and the other listening to the energy. And what that looks like is one who is saying, I don't know where you got those facts, or where are the facts? Where's the data that supports that? That is what is being asked by some as they listen to your message. While the other is saying, while you're talking about the tree, I'm thinking about the forest and wondering about forests across the globe. While the other one is saying, I don't see how that can be true. Because when you start adding 1 + 2 and then this, and people that are listening for logic are the people you hear. Let's just use conspiracy theory as an example. Let's say we have a theory and it's a conspiracy. They're the ones that saying, so I'm supposed to understand that 5,000 people over a 10-year span all kept the same secret and nobody said anything. That doesn't make sense to me, right? Because they're looking for the logic behind what you're saying. And then that determines whether they believe you are credible. And other people walk out of a meeting, they won't remember a thing that was said, but they certainly know how people felt. If there was tension, if there was joy, relief, pressure, confusion, they will know how people felt walking out of that meeting. And some people just want to feel the energy. Are we hyped up? Are we kind of mellowing out? How are we doing this? And they're very energy listening. Like, are we supposed to be excited about this? Are we supposed to be sad? What's going on? Is this drama? Everybody is listening and paying attention to different things. The conflict often begins when the speaker's intention and the listener's focus are different. Let's just take something as simple as an employee saying, I have been working on this project for weeks. The expectations keep changing, and I do not know what you want from me anymore. One listener will hear, oh, the expectations are unclear. While another one hears, this person is really frustrated. Another one will hear, you know what, I don't think that we're being really clear on this project. We need to go back and evaluate our project requirements. Another one will say, you know, the things they're saying, there's some inconsistencies there. Not sure that they're really making sense with their claims. While the other person will say, oh my gosh, this person is just so draining. They're so negative. Oh my gosh, that was not a fun meeting. Everybody heard something very real, but it was very different. So I would offer this, that listening problems are not always caused by a lack of attention. They are often caused by a different attention. So that is why listening often breaks down. So let's just look at what are the 2 different parts of listening. There's 2. One is, what is my focus on, which is, what am I listening for? And the other is, and what do I do with what I hear? Some listeners, that's us, all of us people, will naturally focus on information. What are the facts? What are the ideas you're presenting? What are the details of what you're saying? What is the logic behind it? Or they're going to add meaning. What is the meaning of what you're trying to say? Or I'm going to come to a conclusion. If I'm sharing information about a project, some of us will be listening for, what are the stats? Some of us will be listening for, okay, well, when you're sharing that data, what are the ideas behind that? Like, do they need to be better? Are we ahead? What are the ideas? What does the data tell us? Others will be listening for if you're leaving data out. Those super detailed listeners can tell, well, you said A, B, C, and then now you're talking about M and you left out a lot of details. And others, again, are looking for the logic. So is that making sense for us? Are we aligned with our purpose? Are we going in the right direction? Others will look for meaning. We hear a lot of people talk about storytelling of the data. And the people that need that most are the one that are saying, I hear your data. What does it mean? And then you'll have others that are just simply making conclusions. You're giving me data. I'm already coming to conclusions. And sometimes what happens is those that are listening for conclusions, if they've already come to a conclusion a quarter of the way through your presentation, it feels like they are gone because they're done listening. They've already come to a conclusion and they're ready to take action. And that can be frustrating. And it's really important for us that when we tend to do that, having an awareness. Many people with a conclusion style will make a conclusion way before they get to the end of the conversation. That other side is our listening mode. What am I going to do with it? So there are those that simply receive information. I'm going to take this information in. You're presenting, so I'm going to bring information in. I'm going to hold that. I'm going to store that. And I'm going to know that. Others seek to understand. I'm going to organize that information. I'm going to interpret it. I'm going to connect it to others, and I'm going to add meaning to what you're saying. And then the third is I'm going to judge it as good, bad, right, wrong, good, bad, ugly, right? I want to evaluate it, test it, critique it, and then I'm going to decide what to do with it. Those that are listening for more of a judging mode want to decide what they're going to do with it. Do they need to make a decision? Do they need to act on it? Do they need to dismiss it? So those are your three modes of listening. Either I'm going to receive it, or I'm seeking to understand it, or I'm going to simply judge it. So we have a listening focus and a mode. And it's these dimensions that create the listening styles. So our listening focus determines what gets our attention, and our listening mode determines what we do with it. So when we look at the 5 different listening styles, understanding what our preference is and what the preferences are others allows us to adjust. So we're going to look at those quickly, those 5 different styles. The first one, discerning. What information do I need to capture? And it's the discerning listeners that often people say to them, you are so focused on the details. And that listener is thinking, well, I'm trying to make sure we don't miss anything important. It is your discerning listener that will notice there's a gap in the information. There's missing data first. And they will bring that up. That's the strength they bring. When it feels like you're not hearing my ideas because you're too busy catching me on what I'm forgetting, can be where that conversation goes a little awry. Because then we have the comprehensive listener who is saying, how does it all fit together? And they're the ones that are organizing the information. They use a lot of questions to clarify. And their main goal is looking for patterns and connections. Not what you're talking about today. That's not their focus. Their focus is on all the other things that they've heard and the things that are coming up. Often they hear people say, you are so overthinking this. When really what they're thinking is, I need to understand how all of this connects. So sometimes we'll hear a report out on a project status. A comprehensive listener is thinking, how does this connect to our overall strategy and the overall temperature of the marketplace? And it's hard for them to hear the minutia of the project because they're too busy thinking about the overall marketplace and how that fits in. We also have what is called the evaluative listening style. Does this make sense and do I agree? That is their whole goal. They're looking for evidence, for credibility. They want to look for logic. And they're always questioning what the intention of that speaker is. And they're looking for the strengths of the argument and the weaknesses. And they want to know what the next steps are. They're really good at helping teams make good decisions and avoid weak conclusions because they're going to continue to ask questions. They're going to say things like, I'm testing the idea so we can make a good decision. Because people will say, why do you ask so many questions? I'm testing, I'm poking holes in your argument so that we have a solid answer. But other people feel like, you're just disagreeing. You're not hearing me. You're just disagreeing with me. But understanding that evaluative listener is looking for the strength of the logic. And that's a big strength to bring to an organization. We also have our empathetic listener. What is this person feeling or needing is the core purpose or need of that listener. They hear the emotional undercurrent. They hear the unspoken feelings. They're reading body language. They're listening for tone. They're understanding the person's experience, what's important to them. These are things that we don't have a language to speak to. These are the things that are observable and that they're hearing. It is your empathic listeners that are really good at creating trust, safety, and human connection because they really understand other people's experience. Sometimes people will say, well, I understand you know how they feel, but what are we going to do? What is the action? And what are the facts? Let's just get to the facts. But that listener is often saying we can't solve the problem until that person feels understood or feels heard. And empaths can sit in a meeting and it is so uncomfortable for them when there's high tension because they feel the tension. They feel the struggle. Or somebody else who may be more evaluative focused may not be feeling the tension at all. What they're feeling is they need more questions answered. So evaluation is valuable, but timing matters. A person may need to feel heard before they're ready to have their idea examined, and certainly before they're ready to buy in. So let's talk a little bit. Those are our 5 styles of listening. We have discerning, comprehensive, evaluative, empathic, and we also have an appreciative, which is an appreciative listener. A lot of us do that, not as much at work, but certainly at home, where I'm just enjoying the connection. Those are the ones that we hear them say. They talk over each other, and there's not a lot of information being exchanged. It's just a connection. As long as we're talking, we're connecting. And that's that appreciative style. So with those 5 styles, we know that when combined, they come up with a listening pattern. Because most of us don't have a preference for one listening style. We tend to default to 1 to 2. In these situations, I have this style. In that situation, I have that style. And we use one real strong one with a second supporting style. So most people, their highest style, their highest preference is what captures the attention first. And then their second strongest is what tells them what to do with it. So we call that a listening combination. Neither is wrong. It's just simply how we process the message and our different pathway. At Coach Cora, we have an assessment that helps us identify not just what our listening combinations are, but what our listening patterns are. And if anybody is interested in that listening assessment, just DM me and ask me for it. I'm happy to send it to you. Because your highest style will tell you what you capture first, what captures your attention first. Your second highest style tells you where your mind is likely to go next. So the typical combinations are either I'm learning oriented, I want to learn. I'm goal oriented. What's the goal here? What are we doing? What do we need to accomplish? More receptive. I just want to hear and receive your information. Some are very engagement oriented. Let's engage in a conversation and a mutually beneficial outcome. Some have an analytical approach. Some have creative. Some are very insight oriented. In other words, I really need to understand. Some are very personal values oriented. Some are very astute. And while others have a high relationship focus. So let's talk about why this matters. Why does any of this understand? Why would I want to know for myself what my listening preferences are and be able to identify in others how they receive information and what they do on it? It's because When we really understand our different styles and can align and adjust, we build trust, communications, and we alleviate a lot of the misunderstandings while improving our effectiveness. And what we want to make sure that we're doing is not confusing my preferred style of listening with being the right style. Because a detail-focused leader may assume that someone who focuses on emotion is avoiding the facts, when in fact, an empathetic leader can interpret the evaluative style as not caring. An evaluative style may see clarification questions as resistance, while a comprehensive would see it as engagement. Our listening style is not the problem. It's our inability to adapt in the situation. And that's what's most important first, is that it's not the style and there's not a right style. It's understanding about our ability to adapt. And the second thing is, people often give others the listening response that they personally prefer. If a person wants empathy, they may receive advice. A person who needs a decision may receive more questions. A person who needs facts receives encouragement. And a person who needs time to process receives immediate critique. And so understanding that when we adjust a little bit and recognize people will tell you through their word choice and their behavior what their listening preference is and what they're listening for. And when we can align with that, that's what really reduces the misunderstandings, the tensions, and the conflicts. And again, because listening really affects trust. People feel heard when we respond to the part of their message that matters to them most. So a speaker decides when they feel heard, not the listener. And oftentimes as a listener, I decide whether or not I heard you, but it's the speaker that needs to feel heard. So what are we going to do with this information? Because I want to give listeners a practical way to apply this model immediately. So first of all, know your default style. Know your highest two styles. And you can ask yourself, what is it that I notice first? And then, what might I overlook? What response do I tend to give automatically? So know your default. Secondly, what do you think the speaker needs when people are speaking to you? Try asking, what would be most important for me? To help you sort this out? To help you decide what to do next? To determine if you have everything you need? What are you looking for from me? Third, listen beyond your preference. After a conversation, ask yourself, what did I hear? Did I hear any facts? Did I observe any emotions? Did I extract any meaning? What still needs clarification? Is there something that needs to be evaluated? Do we need to make a decision? That's how you can really develop your listening, is asking questions from each one of the styles' lens. And then 4, signal your listening intention. Say, hey, I want to make sure that I understand before I respond, instead of just asking pointed questions. Or I want to reflect on what I'm hearing so that I'm clear I'm hearing you. Or do you want a reaction from me? Or do you just need some time to think this through? I hear some frustration. Are you ready to clarify next step? It's those kind of questions that make you so effective as a leader. So again, that was know your default. Ask what the speaker needs from you. Listen beyond your preference and signal your listening intention. The more you know your default, notice what you're missing and choose the response in the moment. So that is your play for today. And remember, we do coaching on air here at the People Playbook. You want coaching and have a question you want to explore? Go to CoachCora.com and click on I have a question. I am Coach Cora Lonning, and through my leadership development programs, sessions, assessments, and individual coaching, I help leaders and organizations turn everyday people challenges into opportunities for stronger communication and productive relationships that drive better results. So the goal is not to become a better person. The goal is to be more flexible. Join us next Saturday here at the People Playbook on 9:30 a.m. The Answer at 2 p.m. on Saturday.
And that's the play for today. Leadership is not about having all the answers. It's about being willing to ask better questions, listen deeper, and lead people with clarity and care. Join Coach Cora next week for more real people, real questions, and real coaching, right here on the People Playbook. If you have a real workplace challenge you would like coached through on air, bring it to the People Playbook website at coachcora.com/People Playbook and click Ask a Question.
The number one way to reduce turnover is to stop promoting people into failure. Often, strong individual contributors are promoted because they're great at the work. So great, we put them right to work to lead others in doing the work. We do more believing they can than training them how. That's why my Emerging Leaders program builds confident, capable leaders across 4 essential competencies: knowing themselves, connecting with others, leading the work, and developing their people. Leadership development does not happen in a classroom, and that is why this program ensures the participant owns their own growth. Their supervisor reinforces the learning every day in a guided process, and the skip level leader ensures alignment and accountability with intention and structure. The result are leaders who are less reactive, more strategic, and better equipped to build capability in others. Are you ready to build your leadership bench? Let's talk. Go to coachcora.com for more information and to schedule a complimentary discovery call. Let's reduce that turnover.